Okay, so today we're going to be looking at the Ruy Lopez opening. Now, the Ruy Lopez is an aggressive opening, played by aggressive players, those players that like to take the initiative early on in the game. Now, the Ruy Lopez starts with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5. This is a typical basic Ruy Lopez opening. This is what most beginners, this is the part most beginners know too. Now, are we going further into the Ruy Lopez? Now, black has many responses here, and one of them is knight to f6. Now, this knight to f6 move leads to other variations of the Ruy Lopez. The same way the Queen's Gambit has the Queen's Gambit declined, the Queen's Gambit accepted, the Queen's Gambit declined Slav variation, and the Queen's Gambit declined semi-Slav, the Queen's Gambit declined the Tarach, and so on and so forth. The Ruy Lopez also has its own different variations, one of them being the Berlin, the Stiens, the Shigorin, the Exchange, and so on and so forth. In this video, we're going to be looking at the Exchange variation. Now, the Exchange variation starts when black plays an attacking move, which is pawn to a6, kicking that white bishop. In this position, white has many options, one of them being bishop to c4, bishop to a4. Now, in the exchange variation, white takes the knight, and the black most natural response is to take the bishop with the d pawn, like this. Okay, so in the first variation, white moves the d pawn first. That is pawn to d4. Black captures. White takes pawn. Black takes queen. Knight takes queen. This is the first variation of the exchange. Now, for the second variation, for those that like development, you develop your knight first, then regardless of what white and black plays, except this bishop to g4 move, you move your d pawn regardless. Like let's take for example queen to d6. You move the pawn, captures, takes back with the queen. It's not compulsory you take back with your queen, you can also take back with your knight, but taking back with the queen is what is suggested by top players. Black takes back, and we're back to the same position you saw in variation 1, just that this one both knights are out. For the third variation, you also bring your knight out, but then in a case scenario where black defends the e pawn, you move your pawn regardless. Yes, move your pawn to d4. You don't actually care. It takes, you take back, take, it takes. We are back to the same position. This is variation 3. Now, for variation 4, you just castle. Yes, you castle. Then most likely black would move their knight to e7, and you take the pawn. Yes, you take the pawn. And in these case scenarios, black mostly plays their queen to d4. If you protect the pawn, I take your knight. And if you protect the knight, you can't even protect the knight, you have to move the knight. And once you move the knight, I take back the pawn. So for those of you thinking maybe black made a mistake by moving their knight to e7, no, it wasn't the mistake, it was a bluff. Yeah, just baiting you. Please take my pawn. I will always get it back. Get. Now for the next variation, you also castle. But in a case scenario where black moves their queen to e7. You move your pawn up regardless. It takes back. You can either take with your knight. If you take back with your knight and black is tempted to take the pawn with their queen, you just pin the queen to the king and you get a free queen. Or you can also take the pawn with your queen. Okay, so in the last variation of this video, white also castles. Now black, instead of moving their queen to e7, moves their bishop to e7. Now in a scenario like this, you just defend your e pawn by raising your d pawn up. Now black most popular move is to defend their e pawn with bishop to f6. Now don't make the mistake of going knight to f6 because that's just a free pawn. Now at this point, it's also not advisable to move your pawn to f6. Why? Because you're taking away a developing square for your knight. And in future cases where, let's say I go knight to c3 and you want to castle and you have to move your knight, in order to do that, you have to go knight to h6. Now at this point, I'll just take your knight. Yes, I'll just take your knight. Though it opens up a file for my king to get attacked, but at the end of the day, you just have a damage structure and I can easily slide away when you bring forth your attack. Alright, so that will be all for this video. In subsequent videos on the Ruy Lopez, we'll be going into deeper variations of the exchange variation. Thanks for watching.